Hey guys, welcome to today's lesson. This is an extra lesson. If you're not watching this down at Field Studies, I hope you had a great time. I hope you're starting to enjoy your holidays, but remember this stuff needs to be done before you get back to school in term one. So we're looking at simplifying fractions. Hopefully this is now a progression of what you've already done. And hopefully now you've done indices, this really should be a bit simpler. Okay, now can you remember how to multiply fractions? Hopefully you remember to multiply fractions. For example, a half times a third, you simply multiply the tops and you multiply the bottoms. Okay, it's one of those really quite simple rules, much easier than adding and subtracting fractions, to be honest with you. So this is all we're going to do, right? I'm going to add the tops, so multiply the tops, so x times 3 is 3x. I'm going to multiply the bottoms, 2 times x is 2x. Now, you might recognize that we have an x on the top and x on the bottom. A lot of teachers will say that these cancel. Don't like that because cancel means they just disappeared in total. They don't disappear, okay? They just simplify. X divided by x equals 1. Think, 5 divided by 5 is 1, 10 divided by 10 is 1, 100 divided by 100 is 1, x divided by x is 1. So they actually cancel out, I should say cancel, simplify, okay? And we basically replace them with a 1. But the thing is, because there's a times in between, 3 times 1 is 3, 2 times 1 is 2, that becomes my answer. Now, if it makes it easy for you to think they cancel, then albeit go for it. But I need to try and start saying simplify. The next one, more challenging. Okay, there's a couple of ways you can do this question. Now, looking at this, there's not much else going on here. There's no timesing going on. So what's sort of happening here? Now, there's a couple of things that we could do. First of all, I can't just cross those off. I know we want to, we can't. Okay, we're not allowed. In order for that to be crossed off, and this is what I'm going to show you, hopefully remember a little bit of adding fractions. That in order to add the top part of a fraction, the denominator must be the same. And what you'll kind of have just done here is you've just crossed those two off, but somehow you just crossed that guy off as well. And all of a sudden, it doesn't make any sense. We're not allowed to do that, okay? So there's a couple of things that we can do. If we want to do that kind of crossing off business, that simplifying, we can cross the 5 out as long as that 5 goes into everything on the top. For example, it does go into the 5 once, it does go into 10 twice, and it does go on the bottom once. And we can simplify it as x plus 2 all over 1, which is the same as x plus 2. Yes, we're allowed to do that, okay? Alternatively, the other method that a lot of people will do, and this is probably at the moment the method that I would encourage, okay? And that is to first factorize. So 5 goes into both, x plus 2 times all over 5. Now, this is where we are allowed to cancel, just like we saw that previous question. If I've got something on the top and the bottom that have been multiplied together, okay, we can simplify them. Now, in this instance, you'll notice the 5 is now out the front of those brackets, which means this means 5 times the x plus 2. That means because it's separated by the times, I am allowed to cross those off. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 1 lot of x plus 2, well, that just equals x plus 2. And now what you'll see is that is exactly the same answer that I had in that first part. Takes a little bit of time to get used to. I will say, gents, that this is all revision. We've done this since probably year 8, year 9. Not to say that you're perfect at it or that you're not perfect at it, but something that we need to work on. Okay, we look at number C, letter C. Now we're dealing with division. Can you remember how to divide? Oh, likewise with the fractions. If I have a half and I want to divide by a quarter, can you remember how to do that? Well, hopefully what you might remember are those little sayings that times and tip, kiss and flip, whatever it might be. And that means that we don't like dividing by a fraction, so we times them. Oops, I left another divide there. We times them and we tip or flip this second fraction. I've called that previously in the lessons as the reciprocal of the second fraction. Now we turn to a times, we times the tops and times the bottoms. We get 4 over 2, and that equals 2. Okay, now let's apply that to this question. Let's apply it to this question. I'm going to turn that division into multiplication. I'm going to do the reciprocal of the second fraction. I now get 4x over 3x. The x's can now simplify, better word, okay? And I'm left with an answer of simply 4 over 3. Done. You remember how to do that? Hopefully you do. Next one. Okay, next two, a bit more challenging. If you want to pause and have a crack at it, by all means. My first hint is to factorize and then do your multiplications or your divisions and then simplify. Okay, how did you go? So I'm going to highlight the first one in yellow. What goes into both those terms? Well, hopefully you recognize that 5 goes into both, and I'm left with x plus 3 on the top there, all over 3, times it by 9 all over, and x plus 3 on the bottom. Okay, if I want to times these things together, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to times the 5 and the 9 together. 5 times 9 is 45. I'm going to times it by the x plus 3 on the top. And on the bottom, I'm not going to expand this. I'm just going to say 3 times x plus 3. Now, there's a reason why I didn't do that. And of course, if you see things earlier on, you can simplify by all means. But the reason why I didn't do that is because now, look at this. In purple, we've got an x plus 3 on top and an x plus 3 on the bottom. They are separated by the numbers by multiplication, so we can simplify. X plus 3 divided by x plus 3 equals 1. So I'm now left with simply 45 divided by 3. We do that on our calculator. The answer now comes out to a nice even 15. How good is that? Okay, really big question, comes out to be a really nice answer. So again, my biggest thing for me to say, guys, is to, first of all, if you've got a really hard question, factorize it first, then times or divide, and then simplify. If you want to simplify before, by all means go for it if you see it. For example, in that previous question, you might have recognized that the x plus 3 and the x plus 3 could have gone straight away. You might recognize that 9 divided by 3 is 3, and then 5 times 3 is 15. If you see that, absolute spot on. If you don't, follow my steps and hopefully you should get it right. Okay, my last one. I've noticed that I've got that division there. I want to get rid of it. I hate dividing by fractions. So I'm going to get my 3x plus 9 all over 2x. I'm going to turn it to a times, but I need to do the reciprocal. I'm going to flip it, okay? X over 3. Hopefully, you might even get a mark for doing that. My next step, remember I said to you before, is there something you can factorize? Well, in this, there absolutely is. I'll do it in purple. 3x plus 9 can factorize because 3 goes into both. X plus 3 times. All over 2x times x on 3. Now again, you might want to simplify from this point because I've noticed that on the top part, they're all being multiplied together, right? The 3, the x plus 3, and the x. On the bottom, we had the 2x and a 3. I got some commonalities there because I've got a 3 divided by a 3, they can cross out to make 1. I've got an x divided by x, they can cross out to be 1. And all I'm left with now is the x plus 3 on the top and the 2 on the bottom, and by Jove, that is my answer. Okay, now you may have done it slightly differently. You may have simplified and put 3 times x is 3x, all times the x plus 3, and then 2x times 3 is 6x, like that, for example. And that's no dramas doing that because now I can simplify 3 over 6. Okay, well, that's going to be a half. So 2 on the bottom. The x's cross out, top and bottom. I'm left with the x plus 3 on the top and same answer. Gents, that is my simplifying or multiplying, dividing of algebraic fractions. It's not easy. As I said, it is a bit challenging. Please have a crack at the questions that I've set. This does need to be completed before your classes come back into term 1 because the rest of your cohort have done that already. If you have any problems, please feel free to email me. I know it's the holidays. I don't mind answering those questions. Have a wonderful day, gents. Have a wonderful Christmas.